Here I am, halfway through August 2022. And what I'm realizing with all of my little outlets of expression, whether it's my notebooks, journals, drawings, collage, or these videos, is when I don't feed the outlets, when I don't have a place for what's happening in my inner life to land somewhere outside me, I start to get stuck, like no more can come out. Um, and it's a good thing to notice because sometimes I have the same dedication to my own creative practice during those times. Um, so when things get busy and I drift away from my creative practice, um, and I'm trying to get started again and I feel lost, sometimes I start to question, what is that? And now I'm more skilled at knowing what to do and not to panic or doubt too much. But sometimes when there's been a big backlog of experiences that haven't been processed and expressed, it's hard to know where to begin. That's kind of how I feel right now because there are two main things I want to talk hasn't been moved yet. And maybe I'll just start with the first one. The first one is this quote that I read 2 weeks ago now, over 2 weeks ago, that rocked my world in a surprising way. It was this statement. It was, you don't have to be the best in order to have success. You just have to keep showing up and not giving up and believing you have something special to offer. And the first part of it is what stopped me in my tracks. You don't have to be the best in order to have success. And of course, I thought I knew that, or I thought that was obvious. But when I read it, I realized that I still believed very deep down in me that people who are, quote, successful in my own um, inner voice are the best at what they do. And if I'm going to go for success in my life, I need to be the best at what I'm doing, whatever that means. I mean, this is not a rational part of my brain because what does it mean to be the best, especially in fields where it's not like holding the world record in the 100-meter dash or having these stats in a sport. Um, there's so many areas of life that I care about and that I value where it's not measurable and it's not clear that winning is even on the map. And yet, this deeply held belief that this statement reminded me of and activated in me was, since I have chosen to value the many, many areas of life that cannot be measured, that means I have chosen failure as a big category. And I don't know about you, but I grew up in a family where there was very, at the time, it felt unspoken, unconscious, and just assumed. But now that I've stepped back from it for enough decades, I can see that we had a very limited, dogmatic view of what success was. And it was things that could be measured on a status hierarchy, things that could be quantified in money or prestige that was recognized worldwide, like institutions that had reputations, um, and or winning. It's winning was something easy to put your finger on and measure. So it was about finding the arenas where there were competitions that you could win a prize in. Um, and that was our definition of success in life. It really was never questioned. And to this day, um, within our family, has not been questioned. So I uncovered this very painful, hidden, dark, deep belief in me that was still there, that since I made these choices now, um, 13 years ago, major choices to step off of those treadmills, um, that I opted out of success. I went into a different category where success in that definition was not accessible to me. Why is that important for me to know? Well, underneath all of my ways of showing up in these last 13 years has been that struggle between owning and claiming and discovering what I value myself, and then using that twisted belief to still try to achieve success in those areas: creativity, art, spirituality, peace, stillness, compassion. These are not things that can be measured, and there's no competition, no matter what somebody may tell you. There's no competition for vulnerability, compassion, creativity, any of it. Of course, our society constructs them because that's what we're good at doing, is creating competitions and creating scarcity and creating perceptions of winners and losers. But it's not real. And I know that inside. And why have I been hesitating or hiding or doubting that knowing? Because of this belief that if I can't be the best, then I can't be successful. And the opposite of success in this framework is failure. So everything that I'm doing is in the failure category. So then the next set of beliefs is, then why even try at all? Just keep it hidden. Just do your own thing. Just go ahead and fail on your own. This is how cruel, cold, and punishing this particular area of my internal voice is. And so it's so good. And I'm so excited to uncover this, though, because getting beyond this is the liberation from that. It's liberation from the duality of success or failure as a fixed, non overlapping universe of possibilities, and just such a boring way of judging someone. And I don't, how many of you come from families where you heard people talk about others, summarizing them as either a success or a failure, dismissing those who are failures and just talking endlessly and pointing to those who are considered successes? It's boring because we can't actually avoid these things we consider failure or aspire to these things that we consider success, because they don't belong to us. They're external to us. They're these fake measurements that we put out there, and they're all temporary, as is everything. And so it's extremely unsatisfying to organize ourselves around it. And yet, this is how the predominant culture in our human world right now operates. So I'm naming it because even though we might not like to hear the truth, this is what it is. This is how we are conditioned implicitly through all of the systems that we operate in. I can have my success. It's telling me okay. If it's true that I can have my success without having to be the best, and I liberate myself into the knowing that I can just keep showing up knowing that I have something special to offer, then what does that look like? What would I do differently? How would I do it differently? And who might show up to participate with me in that? So that's the place that I'm in, and I'm glad I turned the camera on this morning to say that out loud for you to hear and for me to hear. That stepping off this treadmill is a lifelong, gradual, evolutionary process that we are all in. The the world is asking us to accelerate that now with the disruption of so many um, previously held assumptions. And it's a gift if we can really see it that way, that the pain of that is ultimately a gift, because the pain of shattering an illusion gives us this gift of liberation and truth on the other side. So for me, this um, unconscious belief that everything I'm doing is a failure anyway, like I'm already just like operating in the zone of failure, meaning, and not like the positive failure of learning, but the pejorative, judgmental, non-successful failure label is what I'm talking about. So if when I believed that unconsciously, there was a sense that there was a futility in everything that I was doing, that no one cares, so why, so it's embarrassing that I care. So there's a shame with it, and there's a hiding that goes with that shame. So there's a hesitation to to even offer. And that leads in me to the avoidance of showing up to move the ball forward through practice every day. And the current thing that I'm working on is trying to put all the pieces together to promote this fall offering that I talked about in a previous video about, which I'm calling the Flow Sessions, which is a hosted, roughly 100 minutes of work, play, creative flow time where we all get together virtually and honor our creative practice in a specific structure that I'm sharing. But there's all these pieces to do any event, and it's been a few months. Yeah, it's been about 6 months since I've had to like put all that stuff together, and it's my least favorite thing to do, because right now it's summer, and my favorite things to do are being outside, looking at my plants and my chickens, and biking and walking and being under the sun. So working with web pages, which has like over the each year, my enjoyment and desire to make web pages has plummeted. um, and I'm trying to get away with not really having much of a website and just using like Linktree and Instagram. But I still have a website, and we'll keep that and put things on there occasionally. So I'm trying to flog through that, and I realize that I need to see that as a practice. Showing up and doing a little bit each day is success, and um, it's not a failure just because it's not done. It's moving forward. I have shown up. I have done work. I have moved it forward. I know what's next, and that is my success. So I'm still having to use all of these um, coaching tools and self talk on myself in my own practice. And um, I know that I'm not alone in that. And I know that we all need fellowship and community in doing our own creative work and moving forward through our own evolution of consciousness in our lives. And so, thank you for witnessing me as I move through this latest phase of realizing this is valuable, as a gift to whoever encounters it, whoever finds it and happens to be in a phase of their own journey that this corresponds to and resonates with. Um, yeah, I think I'll talk about the other subject in another video. So I'll just stop this here. And yes, you don't have to be the best to have your success. How does that sit with you? What does that bring up for you around ideas of competing and perfection? and winning and losing and success and failure. Great things to think about because we can't avoid these subjects in the culture that's coming at us all the time with messages about where we fit into that or not.